Insomnia is brutal. It takes you to the darkest place. It takes you to the place where you want everything to end. You contemplate all possible avenues for that. You know, I just want this pain. That's what it is. It's pain. I want this pain to stop. And I think this is in the deeper places. I've never had any doubt that there's a way through. I've never had any doubt that there's light at the end of the tunnel. But sometimes the best lessons are the hard ones, aren't they? It's okay to wake up scared in the middle of the night and stay awake for quite a while, because you've got some things to process. You will survive. You will get through that thing. It's going to be okay.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to yet another really special Talking Insomnia episode. We have Keith with us. Welcome.
Yeah, hi, Daniel. Nice to be here. Feels very strange, actually, having watched so many videos, and I'm making one.
No, I get that one from a lot of people, but I was going to say, yeah, just for context for the audience here, you were part of our Insomnia Immunity Program for a while, and I learned that you had actually graduated. I didn't know, but I remember you from many of the calls. And actually, what sparked this interview was you and I talked about this HyperArousal and HypoArousal graph that you had found, and you shared it with me, and I said, let's talk about this with our community. So we'll bring that up at some point, but more than anything, it would be super nice to share your story. So tell us in your words, Keith, when did you start having trouble sleeping?
I've had two waves of it. So I'll probably do a bit of context. So in my late 30s, I had some life changes, and my sleep went off the rails, and I went down the medication route and the sleeping pills route, and then trying all sorts of things, some of which went really sort of badly wrong. And I did a lot of recovery work back then, and it helped. And I did a thing, and I rebuilt a life, and I started to feel good about myself and about my future, and my ability to be a part of the world, to be helpful to people, and sleep just naturally improved. And I went into a beautiful phase of, and it was just guaranteed, go to bed at 10, fall straight asleep, wake up at 6, get up, go, work all day, play all day, have fun, connect with people. And that lasted.
And sorry to interrupt, that initial stretch where things were choppy or difficult, how long was that?
I would say about 2 years. In total, and there was as with all sort of, I think with all recovery journeys, there were ups and downs within that stretch. There was a very intense period right at the beginning, and then a sense of, I'm starting to get something here, but it would come, and then it would go, and it would come, and then it would go, and then it settled in. Some things just work wise, finance wise, career wise, and my brain, looking back now, gradually shifted, I suppose, out of HyperArousal mode, and I started to, I suppose, believe almost, and not even believe is trust. Yeah, you just go to bed, you go to sleep, you wake up the next day. Occasionally, you have a disturbed night. You grit your teeth, you get through it. The next night, you sleep really, really well because you're so tired. And so that I had a period of that for about 10 years, and then about 5 years ago from now, I just had a series of, in many ways, they were quite small things, like criticisms, things not going quite as planned, some life stresses, probably a bit of getting older too. My great fix for many years was to run, just to get my trainers on, hit the road or hit the trail, and just run, and then come home with a big smile on my face. And in this period about 5 years ago, it was my first response was, I've just had some bad news. Okay, that's fine. Go for a run. Deal with it. Sort it out tomorrow. And I did just that. I think it was a Friday night. I went for a run. I got in. I went to bed. Fell asleep at my normal 10 o'clock. Out like a light. Great. 10:15, I was awake. Something's wrong. Something's really wrong. I can't get back to sleep. I'm wide awake. What's this? And so my next kind of, probably again something I've done all my life, I picked up a book and I read for an hour, and I fell back to sleep, and I woke up after about 15 minutes, And it's like, this is not normal. And I picked up a book and I read some more, and I maybe fell asleep 3-4 times in that night, and I wake up the next day and I'm in hyperarousal. I get this when I'm really tired, I do tired and wired. It's paradoxical, but I can't keep still when I'm exhausted, and so I exhaust myself more by not being able to keep still. And it was so that kicked in the next day, but in the back of my mind, I've got this. It's all right. You just you tough it out through this day. Maybe you go for another run, and when you go to bed tonight, it'll be fine, because you are so tired now. You'll get one of those great night's sleep. Then all the answers will come the next day. And again, it didn't happen. It didn't go that way. It was I didn't sleep again. It was the same deal. Asleep at 10, awake at 10:15 or thereabouts, and just choppy through the night. And then it set in, this thing that I thought I'd got it all worked out. I had lovely routines and a healthy lifestyle, and a good family life and a comfortable bed and blackout curtains, and it just became horrendous really, really quickly. Just fighting this, fighting the exhaustion, not being able to access this wonderful instrument up here, because it was racing like all the time. Something's wrong, something's really bad, HyperArousal all the time. And then, but having a job that requires me to concentrate, to be still, to help others, to be present in front of others. It's like, I can't do it. I'm panicking inside. So then very quickly the panic becomes, I'm going to lose everything here, because that's the story that I think one of the things I've learned here is that's the story that insomnia tells, is all your darkest stuff comes up, and when you haven't, for me, I felt like, because I've not, I think we when we're sleeping well, we process a lot of emotion, through dreams and through whatever the cleanup work that goes on in the brain when we're out, and that wasn't happening. And so I was very aware. I had all these hormones. I was going to say toxins, but they're not toxins. They're hormones. I had all these hormones running through my veins. It felt like constantly adrenaline, cortisol, and just wired, just go, but also confusion. I don't know where to go. I don't have, I've got all this energy, but because my mind is in panic mode, it's like I'm going around with blinkers on. I can't make, I don't see the world clearly anymore, and it all seems very chaotic. But I'll say this now from here, but also with hindsight, that was my inner world I'm talking about. My outer world is I continue to work. I continue to be a dad. I continue to be involved in various things that I'm involved with in the community. I probably in the last 5 years took maybe 4 or 5 days off work. I don't have clear memories of things going terribly wrong. I kept at it. There's something, and I've seen this now with following the channel, and we've been on the sleep immunity program, is that I've seen a lot of people with a lot of similarities to myself, and I see them doing what they do, and I see me do it, and I think, oh, okay, that gave me something. Knowing that is that you can show up and deliver, even though you think you're not. And I've had repeated experiences of that more and more. And so that I think an early experience when I was on the sleep immunity program, I remember speaking with Coach Ali and seeing this decoupling between sleep quantity and quality and performance the next day. The story the brain tells is you haven't slept enough, you haven't slept long enough, and you haven't slept deep enough, and you haven't slept well enough. You're going to have a terrible day. And or, oh, you slept great last night, it was amazing, fantastic, you're going to have such a good day today. But by, I suppose, mindfully watching that and listening to sort of comparative stories from others, I got to see that's not true at all. I mean, absolutely, I can have a good night's sleep and my chances are higher, but I have definitely had some really good days particularly in the last year, I would say, where I haven't slept all that well. So I know that, I can dig down deep for something, bring it into the world. Other people, unless I want people to know about it, other people don't have to know what's going on, in terms of, oh, I'm so tired, So yeah, that came.
Let me can I sneak in a question here, Keith? When you look back, let's say 5 years ago, when things kind of like, you started having trouble sleeping again, and you were like, something is wrong, you were in this panic mode, and you were still going to work, you were still being a dad, you were still doing, things you needed to do, your obligations. But at that point in time, did you have a sense that I'm doing all right with these things, or did you have a sense that I'm not doing well in these areas of life?
Great question. I think both. I think, yeah, I'm not going to mince my words. Insomnia is brutal, and it takes you to the darkest place. It takes you to the place where you want everything to end, and you contemplate, for me anyway, you contemplate all possible avenues for that. I just want this pain. That's what it is. It's pain. I want this pain to stop. So that was there. But also, I've never had somewhere, and I think this is in the deeper places, I've never had any doubt that there's a way through. I've never had any doubt that there's light at the end of the tunnel. I never had any doubt in the process of, and this, I think my earlier recovery work helps with that too, is the process of living one day at a time, putting one foot in front of another, concentrating on the things that are right in front of you, not looking too far back, not looking too far ahead. Life can change. I can't tell you exactly what the mechanism for that is, but neuroplasticity is in there for definite. Habit change is in there for definite. Community is in there for definite. Learning is in there for definite. So it's like, I get so lost in it, and I still get lost in it. When I have a really bad night, it will send me to a place of confusion, and I have to check in with my loved ones. Am I okay? Because I don't feel I'm okay. And it's like, you're all right, don't worry. And yeah.
And that's wonderful, wonderfully said. And I just, one more quick question is, you mentioned this like earlier recovery work that you the journey you took with the initial phase of trouble sleeping. Was there a framework or certain teachers, or did you use I don't know, like a Taoist framework or Tao, or what was that? Was there any framework you were leaning towards in that first recovery, the journey, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, it's without giving too much away. So 12-step recovery is very important to me. So as a reference, there were difficulties with medications, sleeping pills, alcohol came in there. I don't want to talk about that too much because but that's here, and that process opened me up to a spiritual way of life, let's say. And so it's looking for, I think that people of my, what's the word I'm looking for here now, mindset, temperament, the drivenness as well that goes with it, very self-sufficient, very self-centered, with, and I don't mean mean, but very like, I go in before I look out. When I need to work something out, I go in here first. If I'm lucky, I might drop down and kind of feel it in my body. But I sometimes need a little nudge to think, the solution might be outside of you. And so to be involved in spiritual recovery programs, is for me has been a big part of this. And actually, do you know what then really confuses me 13 years later when I had my sort of second wave of insomnia is, why isn't this helping now? And like a key idea within that with it, you know, and if you go to the sort of the heart of most spiritual traditions, the key idea is you are not the major power. You are power, you know, in essence you are powerless, or you know, I see that I'm just a tiny fragment of the universe, and so a lot can happen that's beyond my control, including how much I sleep. And but that threw me because I was already quite well versed in living a really fulfilling, really connected, joy-filled life, where I realized, yeah, I'm not the central power in the universe. But then my sleep goes off, and my first response, I think, essentially is, I've got to fix it. There's something I'm not doing right. If I can work out how to do it right, I'll sleep better. So I ran more, and it didn't help.
Sounds almost like, you know, tell me if I hear this the way you meant it to be heard, or you thought of it, but it sounds to me as if you found these kind of universal truths. There's so many things we can't control. When we no longer try to control these things in the universe, you know, things get easier for us. It sounds like those truths had led you to a place where sleep was happening easily.
Yeah.
But then when you had like this night of trouble sleeping, that kind of like, you still went into the mindset of like, now I got to fix this. I got to control. Something like that.
Yeah. It was the second night. You know, that first night was like, we've done this before. We have a tough day. The second night, that had me. And then it but it's very interesting. And also that I can look back at my whole life as well. That, you know, and the idea of sleep efforts. I've always made sleep efforts. I can look back. I've never liked not sleeping well. So I've always tried to live a reasonably wholesome, stress-free life. And I've always recognized I'm managing okay if I sleep well. But then I got to a place where you're not sleeping well. You're trying really hard to sleep better, and it just keeps getting worse. But my mind, it's a good mind. It's a good mind that doesn't, you know, this sort of I'm tenacious. Like when I go down the rabbit hole after the rabbit, I keep going till I get the rabbit. And it's great. That's really helpful. That's helped me with lots of things in my life. Not sleep. Although even there, it's, you know, I read lots of books. I you know, spiritual books and books on sleep and books on health and books on ways of being and ways of being productive and managing emotions and all of that. It's all great stuff. And it all gets integrated, and it all eventually leads to, and the journey's not over, but you know, it led to your videos, and I probably had about a year of lurking in the background, watching the videos, thinking, yeah, I get that. Yeah, I really get that. And there's a lot of hope there. And then watching a particular video about 4 months ago. Well, it was Christian's video. Somehow that one resonated, and I thought, I think I need to just do this. I've been doing some therapy, and that had come to an end. I thought, I'm going to take the money I'm spending on this therapy, and I'm going to dive into this sleep immunity program and give it a go. And yeah, it was good. It was helpful. It was it's like, you have. I think I'm someone that has to also. You can't just sit on the fringes. You have to dive in. You have to have the experience, and you have to talk to the people that have the experience, and you engage as well, the backwards and forwards. And it was really strange. Part of me was like, because I've read your books and I've watched the videos, and then the material comes through. I think, well, I know this already, and so there's like, I'm skeptical about this now. What am I actually going to get here? But it was was very bizarre actually how some of the stages of as it was rolled out, as the material was sent, I'm thinking, I think this is where I'm at now. I remember very much, the yo-yo stage. Oh, yeah, that's what's happening. That makes sense. And then, other things would come through and I'm thinking, yeah, I think I've moved on a bit. And then I got to the stage where it's like, I've been doing this for about 2 months. And there were 2 or 3 people who I was really connecting with I could see their journey and my journey. And it's like, we're on the same journey. And then new people would come in and they'd be frantic. I think, oh, stick around, guys, move through a little bit more. And I think I don't know if this is right. I think this is right. Some of the pressure just lifts a little bit at a time. It seems a little bit at a time. I think there are occasional people out there who they just get something and then they're back to restful sleep. For me, it's like, it was a little bit less and a little bit less and a little bit less. The HyperArousal came down and down and down and down. It's not gone now. I don't know if I even ever want it to go, because there's a level of, and this is for me to work out. I like to be alert and awake and plugged in and slightly excited, particularly about an idea. And so I don't like to be flat, and so that's still to be worked out, is how can I maintain a level of reasonable arousal, really, but not go into hyper-arousal quite so painfully when it gets like and then I get panicky and sort of I get a lot of bodily somatic symptoms, in various parts of my body. When the adrenaline floods in, it's things just start to just get very hard to handle, let's say. Yeah. And so but it's absolutely, in terms of the sleep, I've got to a place where I used to absolutely freak out when I woke up at night, racing heart, racing mind, very, like restless legs. I'd be in and out of bed, in, out, in, out, in, out. And now it's not perfect, but there's very often, oh, okay, I'm awake. Nothing I can do about that right now. And so probably 6 nights out of 7, it's just like, okay. And that this bizarre thing of the less I fight that, this is so beguiling. The less I fight it, the greater my chance of getting back to sleep. But I can trip myself up with that. Really try not to go back to sleep. Try not to go. It just doesn't work either. Everything you try, you think, oh, I might have an angle here. None of the angles work. It's it comes when it comes, and when it doesn't come, it doesn't come. And it's I would go on. Yeah, so just say welcome.
No, I was just going to say that. Was that?
I say welcoming wakefulness is not always delightful.
No,
but it's like, okay, accepting it is where I'm at, probably.
Yeah, no, so glad you share this with the community. So helpful. And I was going to say, just to comment on what you said before, that we all, or many of us, we like to have some level of like alertness, some excitement. It's nice, but we also don't want the complete like roller coaster experience. And how do we arrive there? Well, when I think of that, I think of it as like, it's about how we react to our reaction in a way, right? We all will feel a bit excited sometime during our day. And if we then sort of celebrate the fact that we're excited, we're like, oh, I feel excited. That's great. Then we become more excited. I'm like, I'm now even more excited. Oh, that's fantastic. So if we react sort of positively to a happy experience, that can lead us to like, we can almost become like feel hypomaniac, right? We can be, way up there, right? And similarly, if we're like, I'm anxious. Why am I anxious? I shouldn't be anxious. That's like the fear of fear. And then that can escalate in its own direction, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's always like about sort of how we react to our reactions that can lead us into this like extremes, right? Is that how you see it too?
Yeah. It's just funny. I've just come across this one quite a lot. This idea. It's the second arrow, isn't it? It's the first arrow wounds, but the second arrow is the one that kills. Kind of. It is the absolutely. And starting to have this, you know, and as a sort of graduating from the sleep immunity program and getting pointers to other things you might want to look at while doing that. And the Anxious Truth podcast has been big for me there with that same stuff, and starting to change my reaction to anxiety, and really starting to think, oh, this is powerful. Is there? Okay, it's there. And not all the time. What quite often now, having those brief moments that right, the adrenaline's in me, and there's nothing I can do about that. The adrenaline's in me, but I don't need to add more adrenaline to it. I can just let it be there, and then almost seeing the washout versus there's adrenaline in me. I've got to do something. I've got to make that go away, and it keeps going and going and going. And yeah, I think there's real hope with that approach, is that your body is all the time, and your mind is all the time. It's this risk-taking machine. It's wanting to keep you out of danger. Thank you, brain. We're okay. And even to that point that being afraid isn't dangerous, but it's yeah. And again, always holding on to that possibility of that light at the end of the tunnel, that if I can be okay with this, I can be okay with anything. Yeah. And then it's okay to wake up in the middle of the night. It's okay to wake up scared in the middle of the night. It's okay to wake up scared in the middle of the night and stay awake for quite a while because you've got some things to process. It's okay to wake up scared in the middle of the night, stay awake for quite a while, and have a tough day afterwards. You will survive. You will get through that thing. Yes. It'll be harder than it would have been, but it'll be okay. And I didn't want it to be this way. I want it to be much easier. I just want a magic pill or a piece of magic advice that says, do this, and then you'll sleep restfully and peacefully for the rest of your life. But sometimes the best lessons are the hard ones, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you now, let's try to look at this this graph you showed me, or you shared with me, and then just expand upon that and discuss it a little bit. But before that, where did you come across this this graph with a hyperarousal, arousal, and hypoarousal?
That's from it's from Kristin Neff's website. So she is a psychologist, I believe, and she writes about neurodivergence. It's an excellent resource for anybody that's interested in autism, ADHD, and those very things of the hypersensitivities. Yeah, I would refer to that. Maybe put a link in the chat after the video.
Oh yeah, just send me that and we'll put it in the description. And now let me try to share this with everyone. I'll just, it's pretty obvious, but I'll just go over it. So here it says the top part with kind of like pinkish color here. It says hyperarousal, and we are now mobilized. And here it says panic, fear, worry, irritation. So those are kind of some feelings that often lead to hyperarousal. And here are some kind of experiences like heart racing, increased stress, hormones, aggression. This is sympathetic mode, fight or flight, sense of threat. And then we have in the middle, green, it says window of tolerance, social engagement, where we feel engaged, we sense of safety, curious, we are energetic, connected, centered, grounded, and we are in sort of a parasympathetic mode, and we have a sense of safety. And finally, hypoarousal. So not hyper, but hypoarousal. We are immobilized. We may feel numb, disconnected, foggy, shut down, low energy, fatigue, dissociation. Dorsal vagal is the perceptive mode here. And we have a sense of like collapse and helplessness. Now, the first thing I wanted to comment on was that the green here is like this window of tolerance. But an interesting thing to me is that what leads to both hyper and hypoarousal are here the same. And I believe this too. It's essentially stressor or a sense of threat, stressor, threat. And it's interesting, that can lead in both directions. And that can sound like counterintuitive, but the way I sort of interpret that is that depending on the circumstances, when we're threatened, so sometimes a threat can necessitate like a fight or flight reaction, and that's kind of the appropriate intervention for safety. Other times, maybe kind of almost like play dead, do nothing, just stay low. That may be more safer for us in some circumstances. And you can explain this. Is that how you think of it too?
That's how I live it. Yeah, but yeah, 100%. It is very much the stress response is that you will. It's funny. I made reference to running earlier. So I would say my preferred trauma response is run, and I will run when I'm agitated. I will run physically, but also if I'm faced with a stressor, with a problem, I'm programmed to run mentally, fix it, find a way, think of a way out of this. Imagine yourself somewhere else. So run. Fight is obviously there, or be irritable or aggressive, or express anger. And for me, my last resort is freeze. In this period of insomnia, and I think exhaustion also comes into this too, is I just got very aware. I go into a shutdown mode, and I just want to close my eyes. I want to wear earplugs. I want to get away from people. I want to curl up in the fetal position, and kind of, and it's sometimes that is what I have to do. And I don't like it, but it's very hard. It looks like you're in a very numbed out state, but inside something's wrong and I gotta fix it. And I've been through that cycle like so many times. And eventually you start to move again, and you get an idea. I think I'll do this. I think I'll have some lunch. I think I'll have a cup of tea. I think I'll call someone. I think I'll go for a walk. And you gradually maybe move out of that. And there's a fourth one. Talking of the 3 or the 4 F's, and the fourth one is fawn, which is to try to placate, to try and make friends with the aggressor. And that's another one I would definitely like to play. But there's, I think when you're in that regulated zone, things just flow, easily. But it's just not always like that. None of us really get to stay 100% regulated all of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's counter to kind of our human nature of like, we want to survive. So there will always be something that kicks us kind of up or down. But, I think also when we have these insights that it's the second arrow or how we react to reactions that matters, then our overall, kind of, instead of being like super roller coaster, our life experience will be more like, more like that.
Yeah.
I want to comment a little bit on the running too. And on a personal note, I think I shared this with you in some call that when I feel, agitated, anxious, nervous, I like to go running, and I cannot remember a time where I haven't come back from a run and felt easier. It's always led there. But then when somebody hears this, they can of course think, oh, I see, running is the cure for anxiety. Which, of course, if somebody goes out for a run with the specific intent of escaping anxiety, they will feel more anxious. If anything, it will just amplify it. So how can one explain my experience? Well, to me, it's like when I'm anxious and I go for a run, it's almost like I'm now turning the anxiety into something that is welcome, that is almost beneficial. It's nice. I feel this anxious energy. I can propel. I can use that, and then when we are okay with the way we feel, then naturally we feel more kind of regulated or a peace of mind because we're not fighting with anything. But have you had some similar experience there, or how do you think of it?
It was always like that. I guess again, so coming back to chemicals and hormones, endorphins is why it feels that way after a run. And I had a bunch of those, and I can still have that experience. I've got back to a bit of running now, but I don't know. I try not to use it in the same way because I don't. I'm a bit older. I don't know exactly what's happened. I'm prone to overdoing things anyway. Just one more mile, just do a bit more. So and what I've found in the last 4 or 5 years is that when I overdo, I pay a price, and that price is usually it's pain and fatigue. And so I've again this I'm having to go through a process of, for whatever reason, life changes, of renegotiating my relationship with my body, that it wants to go, and it's like, yeah, okay, we'll I always have the conversation, we'll go for a run, but there are limits. And then it gets going, it's like, oh, come on, let's keep going, just a bit more, a bit faster. Remember, I'm not in my 30s anymore, and but it's hard because it always starts to feel good, but then I'm still very prone to. And I get, this is the mindset, I think, of a lot of people with the sleep difficulty, is more. I want more sleep. I want it to be better. I want it to be deeper. I want to have sweeter dreams. When I go for a run, I want to run really fast and I want to run really far. When I work on a project, I want it to be amazing. And just diet a lot for me. A lot of the work that's been happening is to just dial it back a bit. I can't switch it off. I'm never going to not be me. There are real advantages to being a little bit excitable and a little bit driven. But there are other parts of me that are saying, yeah, but we can have fun and be relaxed. There's a sweet spot, and we're back to the diagram there. That zone of regulation. When I'm there, it's my life is good, and if I go too high, and that's it, it's a waveform, isn't it? It's quite obvious, really, when you look at it that way. Is if I want my waves to go up really high, they're also going to crash down really low. Do you want to do that? Well, no, not really. So then I try and balance my life as best I can, and that's a work in progress.
Yeah. Wow. Well said. And I think I just want to ask you two more questions. One is, if you could, travel back in time to like this the second night, or that about when this started escalating and becoming a real issue, and you could tell yourself something, what would you tell yourself?
It's going to be okay. I can't say when, but it's going to be okay. Yeah.
So, yes, just some words, some reassurance and encouragement.
I've come across a thing from a meditation that I follow that's slightly different, and I really like this too. Imagine a you from the future comes, and he's got a message for this you now. And so I like this version of that, and it's the message that guy always brings me is, thank you. You're on the right path. And it was all that struggle that then leads to this other place where it's beginning to look like it's going to be okay again.
Yeah. Wow, that's the nice one. And finally, you've already touched on this, but were there things or other things that you learned from the struggle with sleep that has been helpful in other areas of life?
Yeah, I think that absolutely the philosophies that you've written so clearly about and spoken so clearly about on the videos, they transcend and it's so that actually, if I can be okay with waking up in the middle of the night in terror, and then kind of watching that wash away, I can do the same thing in the middle of the day. And I've definitely had that experience of, the sinking feeling. It kicks in, and sometimes you don't know what it is. There are environmental triggers all around that remind our brains of who knows what. And it's funny. It's this time of year. It was this time of year when my sleep first went off. In fact, twice. So both back when I was in my 30s, it was mid to late summer that the sleep all went wrong. And 5 years ago, when my sleep went again, it was mid to late summer. There's something about the temperatures and the moving into the summer vacation kind of period, and something triggers, and you don't know what it is, but it's like, oh, okay, there's that sinking feeling. It's just my brain, my amygdala, my adrenaline, just warning me to be careful. I don't need to, again, I don't need to add the second arrow. I can allow that to be there. I can focus my attention on something right here in front of me. I can practice some grounding techniques, some relaxed, calm breathing. I'm really getting a lot of benefit at the moment out of loosening my body. I can get very aware of, or making fists. My muscles are clenched, and actually just allow your body to relax. You're not in danger.
Yeah, very nice. Wow. All right. I think we'll conclude here. It was super nice having you, Keith. Thanks so much for being a guest and sharing, and for that graph as well.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, we'll be in touch. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel.
Bye, everyone.
They say that the best things in life are free. And I truly hope that this free video helps you rediscover something else that is free, which is peaceful sleep. If you do find our content here helpful, then please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share it with people, because the more views we get, the more people we reach, the more chances of changing lives we have. The thing is, leaving insomnia for good is actually so simple. You can and will rediscover a beautiful life at the end of this sleepless tunnel. So yes, please share it with people, hit the subscribe button, and you will be a big part of leading the change that we so want to see in the sleep universe. Thank you.